The Italian Navy has received the ship Tritone, a very special unit for the Italian fleet, which will have a specific purpose. In fact, the ship is not a new hull, I'll explain better in a moment. And it is part of a broader Italian program aimed at strengthening the naval component dedicated to supporting underwater operations, as well as preventing and countering hostile activities in the same domain. The delivery of the ship took place in recent days, in mid-April, at the Palermo shipyard, with Fincantieri responsible for completing the work on the former ship. Coco, now renamed in fact Tritone, a multipurpose support unit. Now, the decision to acquire a new unit was made official, you may remember, in the summer of 2025 by the Italian authorities. In detail, Navarm, which had provided the minimum technical requirements to be met, had given the green light to this acquisition. But note this, because the ship was acquired second-hand from the offshore supply vessel market, since this is a temporary solution while waiting for the new future ups to ships, or, to use the full name, a multi-purpose ship for underwater surveillance, the latter arriving in the early 2030s. So, the Tritone ship will be used to experiment and to learn important lessons while waiting for the new hulls, including the testing of drones, specialmente subacquei. Michele Cosentino, who was already writing in February in the columns of Reed Cardaccio about what was about to happen in the near future. Italy, like many other countries, is working on developing solutions and platforms for the defense of infrastructures, critical infrastructure on the seabed, both nationally and where required, at the choke points of global trade, such as the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb. Fincantieri has been identified as the only operator capable of meeting the required standards and has been chosen by Navarm. The choice was motivated by the availability of the necessary technical expertise and the ability to ensure interoperability with the other units of the Navy. The contract was awarded at the end of October for a total value of just over 53 million euros. From a technical point of view, the unit now known as Tritone is derived from a ship previously built as an offshore supply vessel. It was built by Vard, a company controlled by Fincantieri, and delivered in 2022 at a shipyard in Vietnam. Originally named Coco, the ship was part of the fleet of the Danish company NCT Offshore, specialized in underwater services and cable laying. The transition to the Navy involved a substantial transformation of the platform. We don't have much data, but from a technical point of view, the unit has a displacement superiore alle 6.500 of tons and a length of about 80 meters. Among the relevant features is the dynamic positioning system, which allows for precise and safe operations during activities at sea. The ship is also equipped with a handling system with winches, used for handling equipment and systems, and a mud pool, or an opening on the deck, which allows for the deployment and recovery of equipment or drones directly into the sea. A small side note. From the photos, it doesn't seem like there is a hangar or a flight deck, the latter instead being present on the ship Altera. Since I don't have much information yet, I may have misinterpreted the photos. And we also have to consider the possibility that, among the possible configurations, there could be an option to create an area dedicated to operations of small VTOL drones, which the Italian Navy is equipping itself with, or drones with catapult launch systems and recovery by net. But as we mentioned earlier, most of the work should involve underwater drones, which can be deployed through the dedicated areas on board. Recently, Admiral Giuseppe Berutti Bergotto mentioned the Ronda di Dras among the upcoming underwater drones. Before we continue, I want to remind you that if you're enjoying what we're sharing, it's very easy to support our work. Leave a like, share this video, and consider subscribing, which helps us improve. Thank you very much. One of the key elements of the project is the modular configuration that I mentioned to you a little while ago. The spaces on board have been designed to accommodate and manage different types of payloads, with the possibility to quickly reconfigure the ship for the required missions. The platform is capable of housing, powering, and maintaining heterogeneous systems, including unmanned vehicles, aerial, surface, and underwater vehicles. This flexibility allows for quick reconfiguration without major structural interventions on the ship. The modular architecture also represents an important element for future technological upgrades. One of the problems with new platforms is that they tend to degrade their technological capabilities in a relatively short time, and consequently, maintaining an open architecture capable of adapting to new technologies is absolutely important and fundamental. The trials, tests, and technologies carried out on board will then contribute to defining the shape and requirements of the future units of the Italian Navy. The approach taken by the Italian Navy follows what has been done by other countries, including the United Kingdom, as Pietro Batacchi reminds us. In fact, the Royal Navy has introduced Proteus into service. Not the drone, mind you, but a ship originally built to support oil platforms and later adapted for tasks related to underwater surveillance. The choice to start from existing platforms and then reconfigure them for new uses. It represents a solution that has already been used and works, which addresses emerging operational needs and, above all, provides availability in a short time. Even in the Italian case, the acquisition of Tritone or Coco follows this logic, combining immediate availability of the platform and subsequent adaptation to the specific needs of the Italian Navy. As we have already told you in recent weeks, from a dual-use perspective in some ways, which is becoming increasingly important in the defense sector, favoring pragmatic solutions to alternate with those crown jewels, which in times of crisis often end up deteriorating quickly, making way for more exotic but available solutions. In conclusion then, Nave Tritone will be fundamental for developing Italy's ability to guarantee the security of choke points and underwater infrastructures. This is critical, but it's not the final goal, rather a fundamental piece of a larger mosaic. Obviously, Nave Tritone, like many other ships and platforms we often talk to you about, must be included in a broader Italian ecosystem, which will be integrated not only with the coastal sensor network, but also, for example, with acoustic buoys assigned to specific tasks. In addition, these ships will be used to provide support to drones and unmanned vehicles, which will then have to monitor the situation on the coast, on the surface, and as mentioned, underwater. That said, I'll stop here for now. Let me know down below in the comments what you think, and if you want to learn more, as always, you'll find all the sources in the first pinned comment. Please share, leave a like, and if you want, consider becoming a member. See you soon here on Gens Italia with more news.